Dear Dhamma friends, today also we are going to start the question and answer session for the second time. As you all know, you can present question in writing, or if the time permits, you can raise questions to the audience also. We are going to start the session with written questions. I invite Doctor to present the question one by one to the audience.
Thank you, Bhante. First question, Venerable Bhante, during the sitting meditation, I was having difficulty keeping my mind still. I decided to open my eyes to bring myself back to the present moment. I sat there meditating with my eyes open, and I found that the voice in my head was consistently talking, saying, breathing in, breathing out. Keep going. I am doing great. The moment that I noticed that the voice in my head was not taking a break, I was able to sit in silence. I sat this way for about 10 to 15 minutes. Is this an okay practice to meditate with my eyes open and keep my internal voice silent? I think that's all in this question.
The presentation is not very clear. The first and foremost question is that too much of thinking or mind is wandering off. Instead, therefore, taking this open-eye situation to keep the self-consciousness, that's okay. That is to understand that I am here, I am sitting. And the second part which is disturbing is constantly talking, saying, breathing in, breathing out. That is kind of a preconceived command, maybe. Otherwise, it is unconsciously happening according to the writing. I sat there mindfully with my eyes open, and I found that the voice in my head was constantly talking, saying, breathing in, breathing out. This is not normal, unless otherwise you regiment yourself or force yourself. So therefore, this kind of a thing happen whenever you are bypassing the early preliminary stages. That is to say, before going to breathe in, breathe out, or in-breath and out-breath, just try to be aware of the sitting posture and try to be contented with the sitting posture, then this you can skip it. So therefore, make the adjustment by listening to the basic instructions. First and foremost is to be aware that I am sitting, or about the sitting posture. To reinforce that, I would say, while the chattering mind, the inner chatter is going, just be aware that I am not standing, I am not walking, I am not sleeping, I am sitting. Let the chatter or inner chatter to carry on, and don't react. You must, or you should try as much as possible to revert back to the sitting posture as much as possible. That in my vocabulary, I would say, you see through a wandering mind and try to be aware that I am sitting. I am not walking, I am not sleeping, I am not standing. So that there should have certain amount of evidence to verify that I am sitting. That while you are thinking, while chattering happens, you may feel the pressure points occasionally, and make sure not a single thought, any kind of train thoughts, any kind of chain thoughts cut you off from the sitting posture. It is easy, it can cut off you from the breathing, because breathing is very subtle. So if you are going to focus on breathing, lot of disappointments can happen. Unless otherwise your mind and body is prepared, mind and body is seasoned. So seasoning is first thing first. That means try to be aware that I am sitting. Let the hearing happen, let the pain happen, let the thinking happen. Through that, or seeing through these kind of distractions, we can be aware here and there occasionally about the sitting posture. That will be a real achievement, but for that you must make up your mind not to chase behind the breathing, but to compromise for the sitting posture. Open eye may not create that much of a problem. That later it will be a problem, if at all going to be a problem. So therefore, never mind, open or close your eyes. And if you are opening your eyes, don't let the eye to go through different kinds and different shapes of objects. Just look at the just uniform thing, or downcast eyes with the carpet or something like that. Ultimately that inputs will be no more distracting. But my main point I am going to make is, don't rush, don't regiment yourself to go into the breath if it appears very subtle. And here it is something happening due to so much of conditioning. That is why in-breath and out-breath is naturally internal inner chatter becomes. So make up your mind just to compromise on the sitting posture. And then when and where posture become familiar, posture become natural, then within the posture, if you wish, you can go into the breath. To sum up, I would say, even without consulting the breath, you will achieve the target if you know that be with the body is enough.
This question says, Dear Bhante, some of the participants sleeps on the bunk beds, and whoever sleeps on the upper bunk is not following the one of the 8 precepts. Number 8. So that's all, there's no question is asked.
So in the
statement.
In the Nissarana also this is the case. We have bunker beds. According to Vanaya, if it is reached by a ladder, the height of the bench is decided by the uppermost ladder run and the bed. If there is no much difference, simply more than 18 inches, that you are not measured by the ground, the height is decided by the uppermost step to the bed. So therefore, don't worry much about that. Sri Lanka is historically the first 2-story building you find in the Kaludiya Pokuna, or 2-story cave. There you can see bunker beds. And you can see the first ever toilet in the world, made out of rock. First ever bunker beds made out of rock. And it is valid, and it is, according to the monastic rules, it is accepted because it has separate reach. That is, from the highest rung to the bed is the measuring point. And if you are living in the story building, and whatever the staircase, end of the staircase is considered as the ground level.
Dear Bhante, why keep eyes closed rather than open when meditating? That is the first part of the question. Second part,
simply because eye is the most subtle opening or subtle sense, creating the highest amount of defilements per day. So when you open your eyes, nose end, it is ever making the shapes and the colors. It suppresses and dominates hearing. It suppresses and dominates smelling or signals of smelling, and the taste and the touch. So therefore, when compared to the animals, they are on the sound and they are on smelling, At humans, I came highest position as for the security and food research and concern, and that is the most sensitive. So therefore, as far as eyes are open, your minds are more towards wandering off, daydreaming and fantasizing, and you forget about others, like hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. So therefore, you compromise in order to cut off that, so that you can be more and more open to the bodily sensation or tactile sensation, which can be verifiable. This is more gross. And upon that only we develop the early part of the mindfulness. And once it is developed, once you develop a familiarity with the body, the tactile sensation, slowly you go to the hearing, and at last only you can understand while observing, while seeing, that I am seeing. Otherwise, the seeing object is bewildering you and it is distracting you. You forget that you are a seer. So that is the most fascinating, the most distracting thing. So therefore, in meditation, you go to a forest, sit under a tree, and go to lonely places. These places are usually free of sensuous and sexual objects. When you go to the forest, even if you open eyes, nothing you can see. That is why people with sensuous pleasure hate forests. They don't like. They feel fearful. They get lost. And sit under a tree, you won't get so much of luxuries. Go to a silent place or go to a solitude place. That place is not to indulge seeing. And even then, if you keep the eyes open, that is the leaking point. The break, to burst opening, and whenever you are observing, seeing, you can't be mindful that I am a seer. Now my eyes are open. I am with the visual objects. With respect to that, with the closed eyes, if you try to be aware that I am sitting, or I am standing, or I am walking, the sitting posture, which need no any kind of open eye, is very prominent. But in walking, definitely you are with open eye, because the touch sensation of the leg, the sole, is more prominent, and visual objects appear like a natural challenge. How can you keep the attention with the bodily tactile sensation amidst of visual? So therefore, you are not forced to do, just like the first question. You can do it open eye, but closed eyes, the situation is under more control. That means more variables are fixed now. So therefore, your primary object, the bodily tactile sensation, easy to keep face to face.
Second part of that question is, I probably you may have explained already. Please explain about walking meditation.
The basics regarding the walking meditation in the first introductory cassette. And if you have listened to it, if you have put into practice, please let me know what is your experience with walking meditation. Then, if necessary, I can add, I can give more details. For basics, the best thing is to listen to the basic instructions. So you want the person to come out, and if it is necessary, he or she can please come out.
Anybody? Okay. If that is the case, then we go to the third part of that question. Breath meditation, breath, about breath. Do I hold my breath after exhalation? I don't understand that.
So if it is so, we have to call
Exhalation.
Call ambulance. If someone is going to hold it after this thing, of course the doctor is here. It won't help. Yeah, it won't help. So therefore, just be natural, please. Meditation is not torturing, it is not regimentation. You are just observing the natural breath. You are just observing the natural walk. You are observing your day-to-day activities natural. So whenever you try to do anything artificial, you are simply complicating. Not on the meditation, even your day-to-day life. That is our simple madness. We never accept things as they are. You always adjust it. You always manipulate it. Ultimately, situation goes beyond your control and you start blaming the world. But you are the very manipulator, the very person who you can't live with the nature. So simply, sometimes I make the joke, when you go to meditate, when you go for meditation, we can't even simply breathe. Without meditation, we have eons of time, we were breathing, no problem. But whenever you go for breath meditation, someone has to come and teach you how to breathe. So this is the way we make our life complicated. So therefore, just let the breathing happen. So simple technique that I am reminding again, just be aware of your posture. Don't worry much about the breath. Just be aware of the posture. And that will make you familiar, seasoned for the meditation, to be with the present moment. And then slowly you can go into the other details like breath or rising and falling in the sitting meditation.
Okay, the next question. Dear Bhante, thank you and much merit to you for teaching us. Of late, I am not noticing my out-breath within quotes. Only within quotes again, in-breath, I know. If I force the out-breath, I know it again. What is happening? Am I doing something wrong? Thank you.
This is quite natural. Because out of these two, in-breath and out-breath, one thing is prominent than the other. And same way you will understand with walking, one leg is driven, other thing is drive, active and passive. So that is also when you become very familiar with walking, you can see one leg is taking the whole weight, the other one is just dragging. Just like your right leg at the right hand and the left hand, whenever task is happen, person like me, right hand is the one doing everything, left hand is giving a support because I am a right hander. Exactly in walking, if you are a footballer or if you are going to give a hop, step and jump, you will understand you have one active leg and the other one is not so active. Exactly in the breathing, the in-breath and out-breath, not prominent, but make sure each in-breath is prominent when and where it is happening. So your mind will calm down and fall calm and quiet on each and every in-breath. So when the calmness, the sensitivity of the mind reduces, easily it can see the out-breath. Even without that, no problem.
It's a long question, Bhante, this one. Swami Maharaj, while I was doing sitting meditation in the morning, suddenly I had a different experience. I saw myself in sitting position and at the same time saw and felt rising and falling of breath. I observed both these in like one package within quotes. I was aware of both of these objects. How I noticed my breathing was different than I usually do. It was more like I was watching the breathing as a third person. I felt light and very happy. Felt tall and straight back. A strange sensation went through my body from head to maybe to abdomen. It made me either heavy or very light. I could not dwell on that for long. I was watching myself in this package, within quote, like a way feeling quite happy. And then I started giving you merit for guiding me, and I lost that question. What did I experience? Question. It was difficult to get back to my regular breathing meditation after that. Mind was distracted with happiness and experience. Another thing I noticed when I was experiencing that, the only prominent breathing point was rising and falling of chest. I usually try to focus as the cooling feeling in the nose. Should I change my breathing meditation to notice rising and falling of chest from here onwards?
This can happen because of your perception of permanence. We always, as beginners, when we try to meditate, we have a fixed, preconceived idea, breath must be like that, right? So whenever it is not fitting, the natural breathing not fitting into that, you are distracted. So instead, you have to develop through the meditation the perception of impermanence. Everything is impermanent. This breath appears today now, in breath as cooler, in the maybe left nostril, but in the next one, it may be appear somewhere else, in a completely different manner, different nature, different shape, different manner, and our mind never ready to accept it, because we are conditioned with this permanent notion, Nitya Sanya, and whenever you are changing the object one to the other, it's very difficult for you to verify whether this particular object changing the shape and the manner, unless otherwise you are persistent with one particular object. So whenever you try to be familiar with one single object, it's a very obvious thing. It's a very unmistakable thing that object is appearing again and again in a different shape, different manner, different color, and that impermanence is kind of a challenge to our lenient mind, conditioned mind. Our whole progress, gain, fame, everything depending on this permanent notion. But very simple breath, if you continue to look into that, will show no breaths are equal. Forget about the in-breath versus out-breath, that even the in-breath to in-breath changes are there. So meditation is so sharp, so short, so obvious, that our rational mind is rejecting, reacting, assuming, how can I meditate if the object is changing? That means you are thoroughly or conditioned with this permanent notion. Let anything change, no problem. From breath to the rising and falling, the touching place and the shape, the manner, anything. That is how you become mature in the meditation. Then you get into the acceleration, get into the momentum, then meditation can take care about you. As far as you are reacting to appearing objects, appearing shapes, appearing manners, so much so, you find very difficult to cope up with the object. So therefore you must have the prepared mind beforehand, or be prepared to accept anything within the situation that is happening naturally. So simply you have to do is do away with all the doings. Let the breathing happen. When it is happening, observe as if a distance observer, and then any manners, any shape to come, then the progress is very, very fast. That is no reaction. Let it happen. that our conditioned mind never give up this permanent notion. So therefore always expect breath must be like that. If it is so like this, it is wrong. This is correct like. So that is why our reactions are. So therefore, understand the reacting mind, understand the assuming mind, understanding this regimented mind, which is not accepting the natural thing to happen. So sometimes due to the perversions, without your understanding, you try to manipulate them in order to fit into your likings and disliking. So therefore, this is a very clear indication. If you let the breathing to happen, if you let the mindfulness to go, if you let the meditation to happen, it gathers the momentum very fast. But our reacting mind, assuming mind is not happy. It is being challenged. It is being threatened. So therefore, it is always questioning why it is changing the shape, why it is changing the manner, why it is changing natural characteristics. So therefore, no free flow. Always it is being checked, but the potential is 100%. This indicates you have the potential, but your rational mind always go and check it. So next time you must be prepared with your mind. Yesterday I went up to this level. Next day, definitely this thinking mind, rational mind, reacting mind, assuming mind is appearing. But I will try to keep as long as possible the breathing natural with the non-reacting mind or unassuming mind or evenly suspended attention. So it is slowly, it will gather the point.
Okay, next question. Respected Bhante, in a sitting meditation session, I started with noticing my posture, and after some time, I clearly noticed in-breath and out-breath. I continued noticing in-breath and out-breath for some time, and then I started to see an empty dark space. While observing that empty dark space, I noticed sudden body movement, similar to having quick shocks or pulse-type movements. It happened many times during my sitting sessions. I started to doubt whether I fell asleep, but I was fully aware that it happened while I was looking into that dark space. Should I accept it as a normal situation, or should I break the session and restart? Appreciate your kind advice.
So even if you, of course, it is very difficult to be aware, but even in your sleep, the bodily movements are there. So definitely you can look at a child at the infant level. When you let it sleep, all the movements are there. Simply in the neuroscience, they have put two groups. One thing is sleeping, other one is the control unit into the functional MRI scan. And they found brain functions no difference. Whether you sleep or whether you're in action, exactly the same. So it is amazing. We think that in the sleep we are passive, non-active, but that is the external appearance. Your metabolic functions, chemical activities, emotional things, everything happening exactly the same. So soon if the sleeping person give a jerk and wake up, there's a little spikes in the graph and they again normalize. So therefore, when and where you let the mind to be mindful and observe your body so that everything happen, going on, you find it is not yours. What is happening in the body is not according to your agenda. It is a completely different agenda. You claim it, this is me, but it is not so. That if you wish to see it, if you are bold enough to see it, restrain yourself to do away with all the conscious activities and let the body to be. Let the breathing to be. But fully aware and fully vigilant, fully diligent, and then you can see is not undercoverable situation, not under my control, it is happening. It is threatening. so fearful. That's why we always keep that stream disturbed by conscious activities. As far as we do something, we can claim, I can do this, therefore situation is under control. When we are talking, then we can say, we can express because therefore situation is under control. But volunteer yourself not to do any conscious activities, but inner chatter never stops. Internal body activities never stops. Nothing to mention about the mind. So therefore you have to volunteer first and foremost, specifically in sitting meditation. Do away with all the conscious activities, physical and bodily activities, even for 10 minutes. Whenever you train, it can go up to 20 minutes, sometimes 25 minutes. And within that, just see, with a fully aware mind or fully mindfulness, what is happening. And when and where you accept it, this is what it happens. This is not governable. It's not under my control. It is, and the body is working not according to my desire. It is someone's agenda. It is just reproduction. It's just security. It is just searching for food. These beastly trends. This is reptilian. This is what happens. So therefore, very difficult for someone to make a conscious decision, even for 10-20 minutes, not to get involved with conscious activities, conscious physical and bodily activities, and that is what you call sila, that is what you call morality, that is what you call precepts. In the precepts, you do away with transgression of the social norms. In sitting, you do away with 100% physical and verbal activities and let the thing happen. And you may see, even you stop the physical and mental activities conscious, nothing change. The stream is the same to the mind. And once that is accepted only, you can go to the deep layers of the mind or subconscious level of the mind, and there you find that is more true. Is non-governable, not according to your will, not according to your wish, and it has pre-programmed. It is like a DVD prepared already, uneditable. You can just observe. And it appears like a defeat. It appears like a negation of your ego, but that is what it happens. So acceptance is very difficult, unless otherwise you have enough morality, enough faith and enough mindfulness. These are your own properties. Others are so, everything is borrowed from the society. They are torturing machines. They will torture you. One day it will give, one day it will be thrown beyond your control. But the faith that you start, the precepts or moral condition you accept, the restrain yourself, and the mindfulness, no one can rob. Unless otherwise you are meditating, you are just a program puppet. Things are happening out of the society, things are happening out of the social norms. And at the deathbed you will understand, society is not responsible for your death. It's completely withdrawing, so utter disappointment. But if you have the faith, if you have the moral life, if you have the mindfulness, then you can say bye-bye to the society. The death will never come. So this is the points to understand. Whenever you give up the conscious activities, you can see without any conscious participation, thing is being completely programmed. So it is just like the water carrying its adhesive quality. The fire is heating quality. The earth, the heaviness and the lightness. And the air element, expansion and contraction. Just like this is being programmed, but that will be the last resort for us. As much as possible, we get consciously involved and try to do something. And that is because we have inherent fear. To see the truth, see the reality, see the law of nature. So the Buddha, in a very systematic way, slowly, ask us to do away with conscious involvement and try to observe what is happening. Very difficult. Very difficult because we have driven other people mad so far in the life, so therefore reflection of that. We run mad whenever you close your eyes. It's a phobia. To isolate it, it's a phobia. Close your eyes, it's a phobia. When something happens, it's something phobia. Or the kind of allergic reactions. So again, you try to be socialized. You try to be dancing and singing. And again, try to associate with other people, mixed up with other people. Then you feel secure. But you are more away. Yeah, that is threatening more and more towards your death. At the death, all are not available. So therefore, try to be with yourself. When and where possible, then only you will understand what the game, what a camouflage, what a kind of a show. But whatever may be camouflage, whatever may be the social game, the human beings, they have their potential. If they restrain themselves, their socialization and the show will not completely destroy your rights to be mindful, rights to be diligent, rights to be vigilant. So therefore, if you love yourself, if you have any compassion to yourself, if you have any well-being toward yourself, try to understand who am I. And on the way, these are the early signs. It is something vomitish, something nauseatic, something allergic. So those who are doing it in a regular manner, it is worth phrasing, worth worshipping, because very difficult. But from the meditation point of view, very good early signs to say that you are now ready to bridge with what is happening, that you are ready to give up what you do. So this is what you call the deep morality. So if you have spiritual backbone, spiritual guts, let it happen as much as possible, and it will be slowly accustomed to this what you call insight meditation.
As a part of the same question, Bhante, what I noticed was that when I have a jerk-like movement, I feel actually I feel more happy afterwards, because I feel that I had a successful meditation after that. If I don't have that, sometimes it's not that, I don't feel that way.
So if it is so, you will be consciously jerking.
No.
I don't do that. Let things happen. It will never happen according to your likings and dislikings. It's completely against the grain. So be bold, be prepared to face this. The body it has its own movements. So whatever restraint you are going to do, do the necessary thing in the sleep. If there is no sleep for 3 days, you're mad. You're mad. So sleeping is the reconciliation type. Whatever the restraint you do during the daytime, it is balancing thing happen in the sleep. During the sleep, no morality. That is why we go to the silent place and private place and dark place. Sleep is such. Without sleep, we can't run the show. Sleep is the reconciliation point. So in meditation, it's another kind of sleep, but fully aware. You try to be aware, who am I? What am I? And the first meditation center I visited was Nilambe. On Nilambe, there was a cartoon telling the moment you see yourself, you will run away telling that you have seen a ghost. This ghost is inside. Your camouflage, your social activities and everything is suppressing the ghost. And therefore it is waiting to get a chance. Soon you close your eyes, it is jumping. When the mind falls calm and quiet, it jumps. Whenever you go to sleep, it jumps. Immoral, robust, happening. So in the meditation, you do under the moral guidance and with full faith and utter awareness, utter vigilance, utter diligence to see. And towards the end of your endeavor, as you see, even though we have different reactions, we are all the same as far as the inner ghost is concerned. Each and everyone is trying to hide it under the guise of civilization, under the guise of social life. Therefore, you can go back to the barbaric life. They have no tension. They had no any frustration. And they are doing research now with the primitive people as well as the animals. They don't understand frustration. They don't understand tension because they are not bounded by laws and kind of thing. So more and more you try to be socialized, more and more suppression. Your inner being or inner ghost, inner robust thing, very difficult. But in the meditation, you go with the faith, you go with the morality, you go with the mindfulness, expecting this to happen. Once you see, it becomes so docile. First time, very difficult. You never expect such a uncivilized beast inside. But among the meditators, among the noble people, they sympathize it. Human life is such. And more you restrain, more and more you become eccentric. You can do a short while, but again you have to give a freedom for this beast to come out. But in meditation, you give enough chances, ultimately it becomes docile. Ultimately you can do simple way of accepting. That's the simplest point. Let it come and accept it. And then you become the biggest sympathizer of yourself. Then only you can sympathize another person. Till that, if you are sympathizing other people, it is just camouflage. It is just show. First you have to sympathize yourself. Just you have to be with yourself. Very difficult. And the Buddha says that if you can do it in the, he divide the whole life into three. Early third, 1/3 of the life, with the dark hairs and with all the vigor in the organs, and still if you can face this, the highest benefits. Then the middle age and the last stage is least. So therefore very difficult to be a youngsters in USA to observe this. Because they are in such a show. They are in such a camouflage, driven mad by the society. And they have no so-called moral life. They have no such a self-experimenting. They have no such a view like to understand who am I. So we can't expect that in the society at large. But whatever may be the age, if you understand what you are doing, no one can suppress you. You can keep on. It's very, very aesthetic, very, very challenging, very, very rejuvenating kind of experiment.
Bhante, going back to the jerk thing, sometimes when you are in samadhi, when you go kind of a deeper level, you feel a jerky kind of movement also.
It depends. In the Anija Sutta, the Buddha mentioned, in totality, each and every jerk is due to defile. Injana, Kampana, Spandana, Papanchana. Injana means movements. Chanchala is jerking, the changing. And Kampana is jerks. Papanchana is prolific thinking. Mental proliferation, all are due to defilements. So whenever the mind becomes less and less defiled, all the injana, kampana, chanchala, prapanchana is calming down. Little by little it is calming down. All of a sudden a spike happens. That becomes very prominent because the rest of the valley is very calm. Otherwise, all the time it is happening, but our mind is very rough. Our mind is not very calm down, so it is not a matter. But when the mind calms, and again a jerk happens, then again calming happens. So therefore, ultimately you will understand, whenever the mind becomes calm and quiet, a single moment of unmindfulness going to give a jerk, and again come back to the mindfulness. Again a jerk, and again the mindfulness. Then a very nice formula the Buddha is making. You can't understand silence unless there is a jerk. You can't understand jerk unless there is a silence. So silent and jerks are reciprocal each other. But in the day-to-day life, we have likings and dislikings. This is good, this is bad. So that is why we are reporting. That is why it becomes an event. That is why you feel like it's worth discussing. But the training, what should be, is that you must have the equal mind or equal value for this calm mind and the jerk mind. So therefore, towards the middle part of your meditation, the calming happen, again the jerk happen, again the calm down, again the jerk happen. So if you are going to select only the calm space as your good part of meditation, your thinking is paralyzed. You hate jerks. And just like the doctor going to love jerks, then another paralyzed. That's another other side of the coin. So your maturity means you feel the jerk, it is involuntary. You feel the calmness, it is also involuntary. It is something happening. So therefore you observe up to the point, both of them are equal. Then only mind can go into the subconscious. Because these are happening at the tip of the iceberg. So once you master it, you can dig a tunnel into the subconscious level, and there are also jerks and kind of things are there, but your mind is being so seasoned, mind is being so familiar, being so mastered, and you can go into that. Otherwise your mind is in the day-to-day life, family life, it is completely obsessed with these kind of things. It can't go into the deep layers. So that's why temporarily you have to go away and you have to be with one single materialistic object and let that calm down. Again, let the jerks happen. Again, calming down, again the jerks happen. So more and more you go there, you find the amplitude of the jerk is reducing. The calm period also reducing. They happen reciprocally, very close each other. So that is the place you to have equanimity towards these two. That is the equanimity with respect to the materiality. And then there is, when you go down there, there's another kind of equilibrium with respect to the feelings. And then another equilibrium with respect to the perception. And deepest level, with respect to your volitional activities, your will. So the very first one is the most consuming, most demanding, most difficult to go through. Once that is happened, it's a repetition to the other perspective, immaterial perspectives. So 99% of the meditators get failed in the early phase. They are not happy to understand the changes. Calmness and the jerks are the two sides of the same coin. If they have selection, if they have choice, if they have likings and dislikings, so much so, they block the progress. So you have to let it happen and develop the equilibrium.
The last question, Bhante. Dear Venerable Bhante, please explain again the 5 points that facilitate beginner's mind. Are they morality, 1, mobility, 2, direct listening, number 3, discussion, number 4, concentration, number 5 is wisdom. How are these 5 points help in diligence or appear in Dasuttara? Thank you very much.
So these are the 5 that you are facilitating. It is you find in the Anuggahita Sutta Anugaita is being translated as facilitating. Anugaita Sutta, it is separate sutta in the Anguttara Nikaya or numerical sayings in the book of 5. It make condition yourself for the spiritual journey. And once it is there, the first and foremost you have to do with these facilities is to be diligent, is to be vigilant. That diligence and that vigilance again happen in 3 modes: physical, verbal diligence, and mind in the concentration level, and the mind in the wisdom level. So to prepare that only, the early things you do, and therefore the vigilance and diligence, once you facilitate it with these 5 points, you find easier, which is just like warming up your body before the athletic movements. Once the body is warmed up, it is very agile. You can perform very easy for your athletic movements. Like that, you have to have the preliminaries and then develop the diligence, and otherwise you can't keep one track for a longer time due to distraction of your immoral behavior, your lack of knowledge, your lack of discussions and concentration and the wisdom. So therefore, they are not completely 2 different sets of instructions. There are some interconnectedness also. But with these facilities, the journey is easier, smoother when compared without these facilities.
I have a question, but no date is given. I don't know whether you answered yesterday. Yesterday. Okay. That's all. Written question.
So we have taken around 1 hour, and written questions are over. If there are any other things from the audience, we can take time.
Excuse one day. Now, on the subject of breathing, I like to actually side note on, in fact, like 101 on urology. That is, I myself is board certified in urology and psychiatry. So, this is the 101. It's like this, that you mentioned that some actions in our body, respective of our knowledge or whatever is existing. One, of course, is the beating of our heart. From the about the 8th week of being an embryo in our mother's womb, humans as well as primates, the heart starts beating. Then the lungs. The lungs start functioning only after the child comes out of the mother's womb, the external atmosphere where there is oxygen. Now, that is facilitated by a center in the midbrain for the respiratory center. Now, the respiratory center in all the primates starts functioning at the time of birth. But it does it that it sends messages down to the intercostal, that is the chest muscles, as well as the diaphragm. So that rhythmically there is a contraction of the diaphragm and then the intercostal muscles. Okay? Then air is drawn into the respiratory passages going into the lungs. And then the next movement is the respiratory center, okay, such that activity so that the chest can contract and come back to the normal level. However, this is only for the lungs to move out and in. Now we are not voluntarily aware, we are not aware of the movements of our lungs. We are aware only about the movements of the respiratory muscles and the diaphragm. The simple thing is that, are you aware of heart beating? No. From the time you in our mother's womb, the heart is started beating. We are not aware. Lungs also, we are not aware of the lungs movements, but we are aware of the movements of the chest wall as well as diaphragm, and also the air that goes in. Now, on that subject, now for us to be aware of any of these bodily things, okay, that movements or the difference or the touch, okay, there are fine nerve fibers which are capable only that function. Now, although the heart keeps beating, there are no nerve fibers coming up from the heart to let us know that the heart is beating. Same thing with the lungs. However, from our chest on, we get the messages going upstairs, okay, letting us know that we are breathing, with the movements. Same with temperature. Now, if you go into, someone goes into an arm, yeah, if it is hot air, we might be able to perceive that hot air is getting into my arm. Just like that. Yeah. That's because the skin has some thermosensory fibers, but deep we don't have. Same thing in the respiratory passages. Now, right from the external, just the nostril, and of the nasal passages up to little degree, okay, there are the nerve fibers which are thermosensitive, which will let us know that here there's some bone things going in or coming out. So that is how we know that when we breathe, that there's some air going in, and there's inhalation, okay, and exhalation also for the feeling. So that is the very primary way of the physiology of our breathing, in and out breathing. Now, this is done by, as I said, the respiratory center in the midbrain. Little more. Now, our brain, we have the old brain that is in the animal kingdom in the lower levels. Then, that's called archipelagium. Then, after some time, we got the new brain on top of that. Now, the archipelagium has the cardiac center, and also sleeping center. Sleeping center, cardiac center, respiratory center, all this is archipelagium, the midbrain. Now, the new brain that came over us, okay, capable of fashioning, controlling the functions of the archipelagium. Now, it's again the new brain that contains has the ability to control the functions of the archipelagium, as well as the new things with the new brain functions, like wisdom, judgment, insight, that kind of high activities, which even the primates don't have much in. Which we human beings have, just because we must have them anatomically. So, the functions of the archipelagium, that is the breathing, as well as the cardiac functions, respiratory functions, as you said, that they are there. You have control. However, the new brain is capable of doing some controls of the lower, but that has to be developed. It is like wisdom. Wisdom has to be developed. It is not automatic. It's like that. And our volition. Now, our meditation, primates can do the meditation, we can do the meditation. Then we use the properties of the higher brain, the new brain, the new brain, to do these functions. So these are we are here. We are looking at the functions of the artically in the breathing, okay, using our new brain, the new intelligence. I like that is
So, yes, thank you very much for adding more physiological and neurological. So therefore the Buddha says, even though we have neophilium part, if you are not meditated, we are just beasts. Ahinsakayo munayo papanchaviratko mago. That means the discipline, well-disciplined sage, even though we have neophilium, we just let it happen without using this volitional activity. This is what you call restrainment. And then whenever someone is overusing this kind of wisdom and thinking and kind of thing, and they are not restraining themselves, they are just beasts. We have facilities we are not using. And then Richard Davidson, writing the book, The Emotional Life of the Brain, and he was one of the leading person. And he says, he can easily explain, whenever meditating, how much is the progress. Now, earlier they thought, after 10,000 hours only the remarkable differences happen. But who the hell is going to practice 10,000 hours? And now they reduce into the 10-day retreats. And now again he reduced. Now he's so sharp, he can show in the functional MRI scan that 1 hour meditation, person with the person without 1 hour meditation. So much is traced down and clearly indicates the benefits of meditation. But he says still more and more he gets bewildered. Being it is so cheap, being it is given free of charge, some are meditating, others are not. Why? He says he can't design even a retreat as to say why some people are take mindfulness, others are not. And the proportion is disadvantageously great. Majority are not taking. So many are happy to be primates. So therefore you have to understand, we can't change the trend, the Buddha can't change that trend. Because we are happy with suffering. We are the creator of suffering, we are the lover of suffering, we are masochists, we are sadists. We create suffering for the others and we love suffering. So therefore we have to sympathize each and everyone. First and foremost you have to understand you have the facilities, unless otherwise they are not put into use, you are a beast. So therefore you are not using the highly developed brain or this potential, the capacity is called possibility. That means it is almost like no possibility, no capacity, no use. So Buddha is the first and foremost, he told, you can get enlightened, fully enlightened. Each and everyone is a primordial enlightened being. The he or she has to explore into that and prove. Otherwise, human beings are born enlightened. It's a birthright. No one do it, and at the early part of this is painfully slow. So 90% meditators are dropouts. Hardly someone can go through it. Once you go through, and you gain nothing. After enlightenment, you gain nothing because you found it is a basic potential. It was a basic capability. It is called possibilities. So even after the enlightenment, so Buddha being asked, the dear friend, what did you get? Are you happy about this enlightenment? He says, for what? I get nothing. Then he says, the God, the celestial being coming, are you unhappy? He says, for what? Because what I lost? Nothing. So it is enlightening means enlightening into your capacity. Otherwise the capacities are there, you are not using it, So that means you are so happy to be beastly. You have to be with the primates. They're very emotional. And Sanskrit sloka is there. Ahara, nidra, bhaya, metunanja, narana metam pashu samana. Dharmena tesha, madiko vishesha, dharmena hina, pashu samana. It is 4 emotions, 4 necessities. Ahara, feeding ourselves. Nidra, sleeping. The fear and the sex. With these, as far as these 4 are concerned, beasts and animals are the same. We are also kind of the evolved beasts. Dharmena tesha madiko vishesha. Only for the human beings, the diligence and the practice of Dhamma is there. If any human is minus this Dhamma, is again back to the human, the beastly life. Dharmena hina pashu samana. Pashu means the animals. If you have no dharma, not sudharma, if you not practice, that you are very happy to claim you are a beast. And that is the way sages are looking at. So therefore it's an endowment, it's a birthright. If you are exploring into that, then you are bound to get. And that's exploration at the beginning, painfully slow, bitter in taste. And when you go there, others may claim that after that so much of endurance, what did you get? Nothing. So the sensuous being and sexual being, they say, we are mad. I surrender with both the hand raised, yes, yes. We are mad because they are behind something tangible. The sex, the food, the sleep, the fear. And we try to experiment with it, so something wrong with us, no problem. But the moment you achieve anything, any jhanic practices, any insight knowledges, any fruition, path, nothing added. Only thing you know now. You are aware of potential, but it was there even before that. So therefore nothing. Whenever someone is to achieve jhanic experience, samadhi, or vipassana experience, the very first sight is very hilarious, very oceanic. When you go again and again, it is just like the breakfast and the lunch. Nothing difference. Then you can go to the higher level. And more you go there, ultimately you find it was from the beginning, it was there. Not explored, not aware of. And then only you will understand, unless otherwise Buddha, we never go to that direction. Our potential is being lost, unexplored. So meditator means exploring into that. So therefore, more and more neuroscientists and psychology to develop, and they are becoming more and more expanded, and they will, earlier all the disciplines start with rational thinking, with scientific, now they become mystics. More and more you go to the neuroscience, leading to more and more mystics. More and more you learn the psychology, physiology. At the beginning it was a direct relationship and the circuits, now no more. Many things can happen. Everything is just a potential. Everything is just a possibility. And you understand this possibility and potential can give 1,001 theories, but nothing can be proved. They are just theories. So mystics and science now go in hand, and it is called science take refuge of the Buddha, or take refuge of mystics. Therefore it is called now mind science. Earlier the mind was different and the science was different. These are the sectors now developing very fast, together with meditation, together with mathematics, and ultimately it find leading to more and more mystics. And therefore now all the top class scientists going from west to the east to see how the eastern people maintain these mystics without so much of facilities, and they understand they are all the mystic symbols and behavior as kind of scientific base. And now shaking hand in the mind and light conferences, it is happening. But we are not going to do it in large, we are going to explore into, and exactly the same thing we do in the micro level. Okay, hope there are no more questions.
Sasai, the Satman Bhavana, everything of the Vitakin Lema, Umut, one of the my side, it's a missing. It's a man told that Kadmata means that we have Vitya and we take a gallopin Satman Bhavana.
ඒ ගැලපෙනවා විතරක් නෙවෙයි ඒ නිසා කවදා හරි නාකිකම නැති වෙනවා. අය තිරියන් වෙනවා. විසි උනත් කමක් නැහැ. ඒකට තියෙනවා ක්‍රම දෙකක් අපේ I have to speak in English. There are two methods for this kind of, when you become elderly, either you have to have a rope up there, just like we have a rope for dry clothes, so you can hold it, or you can have a rail. So in the elderly people, elderly monks, they have the inner walking paths, very expensive, and up there is a rope, alambana rajju, and the side there's a rail, and you hold it. More and more you walk, again the mind learns the balance. So therefore, if anyone is having elderly parents or take care about them, introduce walking meditation. At the beginning they find imbalance and difficult, but ultimately all rejuvenation can happen through walking meditation. So therefore at the beginning use it, no problem. And later the body will learn, slowly. And so you have to have either blank wall or kind of a rail. Improvise. And then walking meditation. And that balance, it is, at the beginning we are depending on the external object, but later the brain understands it, and then they can have, but don't run risks. Have some kind of precautions to maintain the walk rights or that kind of thing, and do little bit more and more walking meditation, and the body will learn the balance, and it will enormously help your sitting meditation. If you can do sitting meditation after this kind of a walking meditation, it is like warming up of your body for the athletes to go for the event. So I appreciate your endurance.
සමාවෙන්න මේ උපාසක මැතිණිය මේ ඔබතුමියට වයස කීයක් මම දන්නේ නැහැ මට දැන් 80යි. මම විඳ වැඩි මගේ.
Even during Buddha time, there was a woman who was not able to walk, and she became an arhat, just by doing walking meditation.
No, she had 10 sons and 10 daughters, and very proud. And everyone told that, mother, now you are too old, that give up all the properties, and we can take care about it. Of course, at the beginning, she never believed it. But after convinced by the children, he gave all the properties and went to the eldest son. And a few days' time, the daughter-in-law started giving sarcastic words. You gave equal shares to each of others, and why you are only depending on my husband? Why don't you go to the other place like? And she told yes. Then he went to the second son. And again the sour words from the daughter-in-law, and went to her own daughters. And they also had the same. Ultimately they were told, these poor guys are accumulating demerits, I will not depend upon, and I will go and get ordained. But the nunnery told, you are too old. You can't ordain. But there was one very elderly nun, and she was sympathetic, and told, okay, I will take you. And don't try to be a burden. So what she did was, she can't go on Pindapath around daily, arms rounds. Instead they started cleaning, washing, and make herself busy, and ultimately she became very exhausted like. But again she came to know, now I am going to become a burden to this place also. So I can't go on Pindapata, but of course I can do volunteer work. And then she wanted to climb the mountain, test her guts. So what she did was, when everyone go on Pindapata, she started climbing the mountain. At the beginning with the help of a stick. And later she found both the hands and both the legs. And the mountain becomes steep and steep. And if the nuns are comes to know this naughty thing, they will really be bad about her. So somehow that she wanted to climb, and she was so exhausting. Before they come back, she has to go there and come back. Then reaching the mountain and becoming enlightenment happened coincidentally. And when she came back, everyone was amazed to hear the story. And they do not know that lady became enlightened and presented to the Buddha. And then Buddha gave the convocation or the degree, the most courageous nun, most courageous bhikkhuni in the sasana. So that means age is not the problem. And of course that if you have led the life in such a way, our muscles are not well trained, but it is not a restriction. If you start now the correct method, they have a recoverability, amazing recoverability. You never believe, not only the mind, but even the brain. So therefore train your mind and change your brain. When the brain is changed, the liver system changed. So first and foremost is you have to have the positive thinking. I can. And when the brain is changed, trained, the mind is changed, the brain follow the suits. And once the brain is given the order, these all muscles are very obedient workers. They do it. So therefore, nothing to worry. Now start, but don't torture. Rail means better. Any questions or any statement or any topics? If not so, we will take time now, almost 3 o'clock, and we will take 1 hour of walking meditation and gather together here at 4 o'clock for another 1 hour of sitting. Thank you very much for the participation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.